Learn English through story. The Mother Who Never Ate First. Lena grew up in a small village where food was scarce. Her mother, Anna, worked in the fields from dawn until dusk, making sure Lena had enough to eat. Every night, they sat together at their small wooden table. Lena always noticed something. Her mother never ate first. "Eat, Mama," she would say. Anna would smile. "I'm not hungry yet, my love." But Lena noticed how her mother's hand shook when she placed the last piece of bread on Lena's plate. She saw how thin her mother had become. One day after school, Lena came home early. She found her mother sitting alone at the table, drinking a cup of water. The leftover food from last night was still on the plate, untouched. Tears filled Lena's eyes. Her mother hadn't been eating at all. That night, as they sat for dinner, Lena broke her bread in half and placed one piece in her mother's hands. "For you, Mama." Anna hesitated, then pulled Lena into a hug. "You noticed," she whispered. Lena nodded. "I love you." From that night on, they always shared their meals together. Lesson: a mother's love is selfless, but sometimes children must remind them that they deserve love too. The Rainy Day Promise. It had rained all morning, and Mia sat at the window waiting. "Will Daddy come today?" she asked her mother, Claire. Claire smiled, though her eyes looked sad. "No, sweetheart, but I will take you to the park, just like I promised." Mia's heart sank. "But it's raining." Claire grabbed an umbrella. "Then we'll wear rain boots." Mia hesitated but followed her mother outside. The park was empty, the swings covered in droplets. Then Claire lifted her hands and spun in a circle. "Come on, dance with me." Mia giggled and joined her. They splashed through puddles, laughed as raindrops fell on their noses, and sang their favorite song. As they walked home, Mia held her mother's hand tighter than usual. "You never break your promises," Mia whispered. Claire smiled. "Because I love you more than anything." Mia looked up at the sky. The rain had stopped. Somewhere the sun was shining again. Lesson: a mother's love is a promise, one that never breaks, no matter the weather. The Old Yellow Blanket. Ethan found an old yellow blanket while cleaning his mother's attic. It was worn, covered in patches, and smelled faintly of lavender. "Why do we still have this?" he asked his mother. She smiled. "That blanket kept you warm as a baby." Ethan laughed. "It looks too small for me now." His mother chuckled. "When you were sick, I wrapped you in it. When you cried, I rocked you in it. I stitched every hole and held you close on stormy nights. This blanket isn't just fabric. It's love." Ethan ran his fingers over the soft fabric. Suddenly, the blanket didn't seem so old anymore. That night, he took it home. And years later, when his own daughter was born, he wrapped her in the same blanket. Lesson: a mother's love may fade over time, but it never truly disappears. It is passed down, one embrace at a time. The letter she never sent. Sophia found an old sealed letter in her mother's drawer after she passed away. The envelope was addressed to her. Her hand shook as she opened it. "Dear Sophia, I know life is hard sometimes. I know there will be days when you feel lost, alone, or afraid. But I want you to remember one thing. You were never alone. Every step you took, I walked beside you. When you got your first job, I cheered in the background. When you failed your first test, I whispered, 'Try again.' When your heart broke, I wished I could hold you. And when I am gone, my love will still be here, in every sunset, in every song, in every quiet moment. Love always, Mom." Sophia clutched the letter to her chest. Tears ran down her face. She had never felt so close to her mother. Lesson: a mother's love is eternal. Even when she is gone, her presence remains in the hearts of her children. The taxi ride home. Daniel had been too busy for his mother lately. Work, friends, and life kept him occupied. One night after a long shift, he got a call. "Can you pick me up?" His mother's voice was soft and hesitant. Daniel sighed. "Can't you take a taxi?" There was a pause. Then she whispered, "I just wanted to see you." Guilt washed over him. He drove to her house, expecting her to be waiting outside. But when he knocked, she opened the door wearing her best dress. "You got dressed up?" Daniel asked. His mother smiled. "It's been a long time since we've gone for a drive together." They sat in the car, driving through the city, talking about old memories. As they reached her home, she looked at him with misty eyes. "Thank you for coming, my son." Daniel swallowed the lump in his throat. "Anytime, Mom." That night he realized something important. His mother didn't just need a ride. She needed time with her son. And from then on, he made sure to give it to her. Lesson: a mother never asks for much. Only for a little time, a little love, and a little space in your busy life. The shoes that didn't fit. Liam had wanted one thing for his birthday: a brand new pair of basketball shoes. He had seen them in the store window, bright red with black laces, just like the ones his favorite player wore. But when his birthday arrived, his mother handed him a box. Inside were shoes, but not the ones he had wanted. They were a cheaper brand, a little plain, not as stylish. Liam tried to hide his disappointment. "Thanks, Mom," he said, forcing a smile. That evening, he heard his mother talking on the phone. "I'll work extra hours," she said. "We need to cover rent this month." Liam's birthday gift already cost more than I planned. Liam's chest tightened. The next morning, he looked at the shoes differently. They weren't just shoes, they were a sacrifice. He put them on and laced them up. When his mother saw him, she smiled. "They fit?" she asked. Liam nodded. "Perfectly, Mom." And from that day on, every time he wore them, he remembered what love looked like. Not in the size of a gift, but in the heart behind it. Lesson: a mother's love is measured not by what she gives, but by what she gives up. The Lunchbox Notes. Every day, Olivia found a small note tucked inside her lunchbox. "Have a great day, my sunshine. Remember, I love you always. You are stronger than you think." Her mother had written one every day since she was little. It was their special tradition. But when Olivia turned 15, she started feeling embarrassed. "Mom, you don't have to do that anymore," she said. Her mother hesitated but nodded. "All right, sweetheart." The next day, Olivia opened her lunchbox. No note. She told herself she didn't care. But as the days passed, she missed them. The tiny reminders that no matter how stressful school was, someone was always thinking of her. One morning, as she packed her own lunch, she hesitated, then grabbed a sticky note. She wrote, "Love you, Mom." She left it on the kitchen table before heading to school. That evening, when she came home, she found the note taped to the fridge, right next to all the ones her mother had written for her over the years. She smiled. Maybe she had outgrown the lunchbox notes, but she had never outgrown her mother's love. Lesson: the smallest gestures of love often leave the deepest impact. The night she waited. Javier had never seen his mother cry, until the night he didn't come home on time. It had started as a simple plan. Just one more hour with his friends, then he'd head home. But 1 hour turned into 2, then 3. He didn't check his phone. He didn't think it mattered. When he finally walked through the door, his mother stood there, her eyes red, her hands shaking. "Where were you?" she whispered. "Relax, Mom," Javier said. "I was just out." Her face crumpled. "Do you know how many accidents happen at night? Do you know how many times I checked my phone wondering if you were hurt? I sat here praying you were safe." Javier froze. He had never thought about that. That night, as he lay in bed, he remembered how she had waited for him when he was sick, when he had nightmares, when he needed comfort. And now, all she had asked was for him to come home safe. The next day before heading out, he hugged her and said, "I'll be home on time, Mom. I promise." Her smile told him she believed him. Lesson: a mother's love is patience, even when her heart is breaking. The teacher who became a mother. Mrs. Carter had no children of her own, but to the students at Maplewood School, she was a second mother. She remembered every birthday. She carried snacks in her desk for kids who forgot their lunch. She stayed after school to help struggling students, even when she was exhausted. But there was one student, Mia, who never smiled. Mia sat at the back of the class, always quiet, always alone. One afternoon, Mrs. Carter found her crying in the hallway. "Want to talk about it?" she asked gently. Mia hesitated, then whispered, "My mom left last year. It's just me and my dad now." Mrs. Carter's heart ached. From that day on, she made sure Mia always had someone to talk to. She gave her extra encouragement in class, slipped an extra cookie in her lunch, and left small notes on her desk. "I believe in you, Mia. You're doing great." Slowly, Mia started smiling again. Years later at graduation, Mia walked up to Mrs. Carter and hugged her. "You were like a mother to me," she whispered. Mrs. Carter held back tears. "And you were like a daughter to me." Lesson: motherhood is not just about biology. It's about love, care, and showing up for someone who needs you. The hands that raised me. When Noah was little, he didn't understand why his grandmother had rough hands. Her fingers were calloused and worn, her palms covered in tiny scars. "Why do your hands look like that, Grandma?" he asked one day. She smiled and held them up. "These hands built our home. They cooked meals for your mother. They wiped away her tears. And when she was gone, these hands held you." Noah thought about all the times her hands had comforted him. When she rocked him to sleep, when she bandaged his scraped knees, when she hugged him after a bad day. He looked at them differently now. Years later, when his grandmother grew older, Noah took her hands in his own and whispered, "These are the strongest hands I've ever known." And in that moment, he saw them for what they truly were, the hands of a mother. Lesson: a mother's hands tell a story of love, sacrifice, and the life she has built for her children. The necklace she never took off. Sophia had always noticed something about her mother. She never took off her silver necklace. It wasn't fancy or expensive, just a simple chain with a tiny heart-shaped pendant. No matter the occasion, whether cooking, working, or sleeping, her mother always wore it. One evening, as they sat together folding laundry, Sophia finally asked, "Mama, why do you always wear that necklace?" Her mother, Lucia, looked down at the pendant and smiled, running her fingers over it. "Because it reminds me of my mother," she said softly. Sophia leaned closer. "What does it say?" Lucia hesitated, then unclasped it and handed it to Sophia. Inside the tiny heart, in delicate engraving, were the words, "To my daughter with love." Sophia frowned. "But Grandma never gave me a necklace." Lucia sighed, her eyes distant as if remembering another time. "No, sweetheart. Because this was from her, to me." Sophia's fingers traced the words. "So why do you still wear it?" Her mother took a deep breath. "When I was little, life was hard. Your grandmother worked long hours in a sewing factory. She couldn't afford gifts or toys, but one year, she saved every extra penny to buy me this necklace. It was her way of saying, "Even when I'm not with you, my love is always here." Sophia's throat tightened. She had never met her grandmother. She had passed away before Sophia was born, but at that moment she felt as if she knew her. Years later, when Sophia was grown and had a daughter of her own, she found a small velvet box waiting on her bed on her birthday. Inside was the same silver necklace. Her mother smiled. "It's yours now." Sophia's hands trembled as she put it on, and as she fastened the tiny clasp around her neck, she whispered, "Wherever I go, your love goes with me." Lesson: a mother's love is not measured in grand gestures, but in the small everyday things that stay with us forever. The birthday she forgot. Daniel's mother, Elena, had never forgotten his birthday. Every year, she baked his favorite cake, decorated the house, and made sure his day felt special. Even when money was tight, she would find a way to get him a small present, a book, a toy car, something that showed she remembered. But this year was different. Daniel woke up excited, expecting to see balloons and the smell of chocolate cake in the air. Instead, the house was quiet. No decorations, no birthday wishes. His mother sat at the kitchen table, rubbing her temples, staring at a pile of bills. She had forgotten. Daniel's chest tightened. How could she forget something so important? Trying to hide his disappointment, he left the house and spent the afternoon with his friends. He didn't mention his birthday, but inside he felt hurt. That evening, as he walked home, he heard his mother on the phone. "I can work the extra shifts," she said. "Daniel needs new school supplies, and the electricity bill is due." Daniel stopped in his tracks. His mother hadn't forgotten his birthday. She had been too busy making sure he had everything he needed. That night, instead of waiting for his mother to make him a cake, Daniel went into the kitchen. He mixed flour, sugar, and eggs, following the same recipe she had used for years. When his mother walked in and saw him setting the cake on the table, her eyes filled with tears. "You made this." Daniel smiled. "I thought maybe today I could do something for you instead." His mother hugged him tightly. "I'm sorry, my love." Daniel shook his head. "I should be saying thank you, Mom, for everything." And as they sat together, sharing a slice of homemade cake, Daniel realized something. Birthdays weren't about getting. They were about appreciating. Lesson: a mother's love is often unseen, but it is in everything she does, even when we don't realize it. The letter from a stranger. Maria had always known she was adopted. Her parents, Jack and Linda, had been open about it from the start. "You didn't grow inside my belly," her mother would say, "but you grew in my heart." And Maria loved them dearly. They had given her a beautiful life, a home full of warmth and laughter. But as she grew older, she couldn't help but wonder, who was the woman who had given birth to her? Did she think about Maria? Did she ever wonder where she was? On her 18th birthday, after dinner, her parents handed her a small envelope. "We were told to give this to you when you were ready," her father said. Inside was a letter. Maria's hands trembled as she opened it. "My dearest Maria, you may never know me, but I have known you from the moment I felt your tiny heartbeat inside me. I loved you before I even saw your face. But I knew I couldn't give you the life you deserved. Giving you away was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I prayed you would find a family who would love you the way I always wanted to. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know one thing. I have never stopped loving you." Tears blurred Maria's vision. She had always wondered if her birth mother had loved her. Now she knew. She had loved her enough to let her go. Maria sat in silence, holding the letter close to her heart. That night she lay awake, reading and rereading the words. Her birth mother had not abandoned her. She had made the ultimate sacrifice out of love. The next morning, Maria called her adoptive mother into the room. She handed her the letter. "I want you to know," Maria whispered, "that even though she loved me, I choose you. Every single time." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. She pulled Maria into her arms. "And I choose you, my sweet girl. Always." Maria didn't know if she would ever meet the woman who wrote the letter. But in that moment, she didn't feel lost anymore. She felt loved by two mothers in two different ways. Lesson: a mother's love can take many forms, but it is always unconditional. The Midnight Lullaby. As a child, Ava never had a mother to tuck her in at night. She had grown up in an orphanage, learning to comfort herself when she was scared. Then one day she was adopted by Mrs. Taylor, a kind woman with soft brown eyes. Ava was excited but also afraid. What if she wasn't a good enough daughter? What if this woman didn't truly love her? For weeks, Ava kept her distance. She was polite, she did her chores, but she never let herself get too close. Then one night, Ava woke up crying from a bad dream. She buried her face in her pillow, telling herself to be strong. Then footsteps. Mrs. Taylor appeared at the door. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" Ava hesitated. She wanted to say she was fine, that she didn't need anyone. But before she could answer, Mrs. Taylor sat on the bed and stroked her hair gently. Then she did something Ava never expected. She started singing. It was a soft, sweet lullaby, a song only a mother would sing. Ava froze. No one had ever sung her a lullaby before. The warmth of Mrs. Taylor's voice filled the room, wrapping around Ava like a blanket. For the first time in her life, she felt safe enough to fall asleep in someone's arms. The next morning, as Ava set the table for breakfast, she looked at Mrs. Taylor and whispered, "Will you sing to me again tonight?" Mrs. Taylor smiled. "Every night, sweetheart. For as long as you need." And in that moment, Ava realized she didn't have to be born to Mrs. Taylor to be her daughter. She had already found her mother. Lesson: a mother's love is not defined by blood, but by the comfort and safety she gives. The woman who became a mother at 60. For most of her life, Mrs. Dawson had lived alone. She had never married, never had children. She had watched her friends become mothers and grandmothers, but for her, life had been different. Then one winter evening, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find a young boy, shivering in the cold. His name was Leo. He was 6 years old, abandoned by his parents with nowhere to go. Mrs. Dawson's heart ached. She had spent a lifetime waiting for a family. Now here was a child waiting for someone to love him. At first, she didn't know what to do. She was 60 years old. Could she really raise a child now? But when Leo looked at her with hope in his eyes, she knew. She gave him food, a warm bed, and a home. First, Leo barely spoke. He had been hurt too many times before. But Mrs. Dawson was patient. She read him bedtime stories. She packed his school lunches. She held his hand when he was scared. Little by little, Leo began to smile again. One night, as she tucked him in, he whispered, "Good night, Mom." Mrs. Dawson froze. She had never heard those words before. She felt tears in her eyes as she whispered back, "Good night, my son." Years later, when Leo graduated from college, he hugged her and said, "You saved me. You gave me a mother when I had none." Mrs. Dawson smiled. "And you gave me a son when I thought I'd never have one." That night, as she sat looking at the stars, she realized something. She may have been 60 when she became a mother, but love had no timeline. She had waited her whole life for this, and it had been worth every second. Lesson: motherhood is not about age or biology. It is about love, and love has no limits.